Hey there. I am getting really excited about my chance to hike the long trail, and it is only about a month until I leave. So I've been going through my gear, taking care of some gear repair issues that have come up after 7 months on the trail, and then the other hiking that I've been doing, spending some time in June up in PA and that sort of thing. So I'm going through all my gear, figuring out what needs to be repaired, what needs to be replaced or possibly upgraded. And I've also made a few gear changes, trying to lighten up my pack, and hoping that I can get down to actually a smaller pack. I'm kind of thinking about doing the PCT in a year or two, and I want to have lighter gear and be down in that real kind of ultralight range if I can make it happen and still be comfortable. So I'm looking at a lot of those gear changes, and I thought I would just take you through a few of the things that I'm considering or the changes that I've made right now so that you can see that. And of course, before I go, I'll do a complete gear video with my final selections. But let's take a look at some of the things that I have shifted around so far. First off is my camp shoes. These Tevas I picked up in Hot Springs. They're Teva Sierra, I think. I'll actually put the name up on the video here so you can see it. I picked these up in Hot Springs, and I really appreciated the fact that they had some nice arch support. They're very cushiony, and they also had good grip so that I could cross rivers, do creek crossings when I needed to. And they've served me very well, but I have noticed as I wear them that these straps are starting to slide and not staying closed, so I wanted to get something different. And I went ahead and sprung for a real treat, these new Zero sandals. I really wasn't sure how I would like the Zero shoes, but I've been wearing them actually at REI to work, wearing them on the hard concrete floor for 4 hours at a time or so, and they have been amazing. They actually feel like they're getting more comfortable the more I wear them, and that may just be my feet adjusting to them. So I know that they will be great for camp shoes, for crossing a river if I need to, and even if I wanted to hike in them, I think that I could. Maybe not for 20 miles, but certainly for 5 or 6 at least. If you haven't seen these before, they are super thin, very lightweight, and they have a nice grippy sole. So really kind of a neat design to be so lightweight and still be comfortable, and doesn't look like they've got much support really. They're designed to be kind of a barefoot type sandal, but they still feel really good, at least on my feet. I know they're not for everybody, but I've been very happy with them in the several weeks that I've had them. And so, like I said, these are going to be my new camp shoes, and I'm enjoying just wearing them around town and at work and other places as well. Now for my pack, I'm really happy with this Granite Gear Crown 60, but it did have a few issues. It was starting to show its wear a little bit. In the hip belt in particular, there were some places where it was actually starting to wear through. You can see there's a hole here, and then also on the inside, it's a little hard to see, but the fabric here inside the pocket that holds the frame sheet was getting delaminated. And so I reached out to Granite Gear to see if I could get it repaired, and they told me that unfortunately that's not a repairable issue, so they would have to just go ahead and replace the pack completely. And I know some of you watching my videos know that I named this pack. This is Irma May, named after my grandmother who lived in Maine, and she was going to get me to Maine. So now we have Irma 2, and I haven't taken this one out yet. It's a little bit different in the hip belt in terms of the design of the hip belt where the refit works, but I'm going out this week for just a short overnight backpack, and it'll give me a chance to try this out with all my gear. Now, I do want to switch to a smaller pack because this is a 60-liter pack. But as I have been looking at all the options out there for lighter, smaller packs, I really haven't made up my mind yet. I do think I might end up going with a custom pack, and I like the ones from SWD and from Light AF, and I haven't had a chance to wear either one of those, and I would like to try them out and do a little bit more research. Plus, the lead times are generally 8 to 12 weeks for custom packs, so I'm going to go ahead and do this hike in the long trail, which is only about 3 weeks, with my Granite Gear Crown 60 pack. And I'm sure it'll do just fine for me on this hike. And then when I get back, I'll start thinking about making a decision for another smaller pack based on what I get my kit down to in terms of how light and how compact I can make it. Now this here is a tent that I bought secondhand. It is a Six Moon Designs Dyneema Skyscape tent. It's a one-person tent, and it weighs about 1 pound. So if this works out for me, it will save me a pound off of my NEMA Hornet. And my NEMA Hornet is a 2-person tent, and it's actually with NEMA right now getting repaired because I had a couple of issues with the new one that they sent me in January. It's a slightly new design with some spreaders across the top, and the hooks to hold the tent to the poles were causing the mesh to come apart. So I sent it to them for inspection. They're repairing it for me now under warranty, and I may have it back before I leave, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be cutting it real close. So I'm going to take this tent out on my backpack next week, give it a test, and see how I like it. I've set it up several times. It's definitely a lot smaller than the Nemo, so I don't know how comfortable I'm going to be in a one-person tent. But at the same time, if it takes a whole pound out of my pack, I might be willing to make that sacrifice just to save the weight. One other warranty replacement I had was my Outdoor Research rain jacket. This is the new one. It's a darker gray than the one I had before. And I was having a lot of problems with my rain jacket wetting out. It would get water on the fabric and it would just kind of soak through. So when I got home from Pennsylvania, I reached out to Outdoor Research, sent them some photos of the problem so that they could see what was going on, and they went ahead and replaced it for me as well. And I'm telling you all this not to show you how much new gear I got under warranty, although I am very pleased with the choices I've made in terms of gear companies and how they stand behind their products. But it's just a lesson, I think, for anybody who's not sure if they should buy a cheaper piece of gear or perhaps a more expensive piece of gear, that you need to really think about who you're buying from and if they do in fact stand behind their products, because it makes a huge difference. And to know that you can reach out if you have a warranty issue, if fabric's not performing the way that it should be, or if something else happens, if you need repairs, it's nice to know that the companies will stand behind their products. And so I've been very happy with Granite Gear, with Outdoor Research, and with Nemo for the support that they've given me for the products that I've purchased from them. Two other little changes that I've made are replacing my bear line. I have this new cord from Lawson Equipment. It's a little bit thicker than the line that I had before. This is the Dyneema cord that I bought from Lawson Equipment last year, and it is really strong and it held up very well on the trail. It does tend to knot because it's very fine, and it's thin enough that sometimes it would get kind of stuck in a branch as you were pulling it. If the branch, if the bark was soft, it would sometimes kind of dig in. And so I went with a slightly thicker line, and this is designed, it's not Dyneema, so it does weigh more than this one for the same length. It's 50 feet, but it is designed to slide very nicely over the branches, not get caught in the bark. And it was just time to replace, because I don't know if you can see, there's just tons and tons of knots on this, and I've literally spent hours pulling knots out of it, and it was just time to upgrade to a newer piece of cord. So I'm going to be taking this one with me instead. And I've also switched out my filter because I noticed that even though I was back flushing my Sawyer regularly, it was getting very, very slow. So I am trying the Sawyer Micro this time. I've tested it, but I haven't used it on the trail, so I'll take it on my upcoming trip. I have also tested the Katadyn Be Free, which I like as well, but I am not confident that it will last as long as the Sawyer, as many gallons or as many liters of water. So I'm going to save the Katadyn for short trips, and then a longer through hike like I'm doing on the long trail, I'll be using the Sawyer Micro. Now, one other fun piece of gear that I picked up is a tiny lightweight hammock from Sea to Summit. This is just a single, and it actually has the straps inside here. They pack up right inside the stuff sack, and this whole kit here weighs about 8 ounces. And I have just been dying to have a lightweight hammock that I could string up and take a nice lunch break on the trail. I have not used this yet, but I am planning, with everything else, I'm going to test it on my little overnight hike here in Georgia, and just see how I like it. And I don't know if I want to carry these 8 ounces on the long trail, but it certainly would be a nice thing to have on a more leisurely hike where you've got plenty of time to just kind of hang out near a summit, or take in the views, or just take a nap at lunch if you want. So I'm excited about this, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it performs on the trail. One final change that I'm thinking about is going from my La Sportivas to these Hoka 1-1 Torrents. You can see my old La Sportivas right there. They've still got some miles left in them, but I tried these out on the trail the other day, and I'm really liking them, and I'll go ahead and show you now what that little adventure looked like. Good morning. It's just after 8 on a Saturday, and I am at Island Ford branch of the Chattahoochee River National Recreation Area, which is actually going to take me on a nice little hike down by the river. And I really wanted to get out and stretch my legs and continue to test my knee. I did go to the doctor yesterday for my follow-up, and he told me, number one, that I was clear to hike, so that's amazing. And he's convinced that my injury was actually just overuse and inflammation and not a meniscus tear, so that's very good news. He also told me that when I do go out and hike in September, I should be sure and carry my super strong prescription anti-inflammatories. And he also told me what to watch for in terms of seeing if my knee was starting to get inflamed even without pain. So that's all good. And he did encourage me to get out just like I am this morning and do some local hikes and put some miles on my legs and make sure that I'm in good shape, in addition to doing the swimming and the rowing and the boot camp that I'm already doing. So I am definitely going to be in really good shape by the time I hit the trail, and I'm excited about that. Today I'm also testing out these little hokas. It's the first time for me wearing the hokas. I know a lot of people love the speed goats, and these are actually called the Torrent. They are lighter. They have a very fine mesh upper, which should drain well and dry well in the Vermont territory, assuming that they do work out for me. I went up to a size 9.5. Normally I wear like an 8.5 in street shoes, and was actually wearing a 10 in the Las Sportivas because they run small. And as much as I love the Las Sportivas, I wanted to try something different that might have a little bit more cushion. So these are not as cushiony as the speed goats, but they do have some nice padding. Only a 5mm drop, so not drastic, not too bouncy, but a little bit more padding than what I had before. So I'm going to hike in them for a little bit, see how they feel, and then make a decision about whether to wear these for the Vermont trip or stick with the Las Sportivas. I'm just passing a little creek there. I don't think I've gone more than maybe a quarter of a mile, and I'm finding it kind of amusing because you spend so much time out on a trail like the Appalachian Trail where you're doing long distance and you're basically living on the trail, that your mind is constantly thinking about where are the good water sources, where can I pee if I need a break, things like that. And you can't do that on a local in-town trail, but of course when I heard the water, that was the first thing that came to mind is, oh, a water source. I don't need one, I've got a bottle of water in my pack. I've come to the edge of the river. There's not really a view here, but it's pretty hazy. And I think when I do get a peek at it, it's going to be beautiful. And there we go. Look at all that mist on the water. Gorgeous. I was right. This hike is beautiful. The mist and the sun just breaking through. And I'm out here before it gets too hot, so there's not too many people either. And you can see the mist is starting to come off a little bit as the sun gets up there. Pretty soon it's going to be clear and probably another really hot day. I don't know if you can see it. I stopped right here and there's some really cool spider webs on this tree and then several more over there in the distance. Pretty neat to see. We've come to a nice little picnic spot right by the river here, and I think this will be a good turnaround spot because, as you can hear from the background noise, people are getting up and going about their business, doing the trimming or sawing or whatever needs to be done. So I'm going to stop here and assess the shoes and then head back. My initial impression is that they are just a tad little bit loose, and I've just got them laced regularly. I'm going to switch to the heel lock lacing on the way back to see if that helps a bit. It feels like they're a little loose in the heel. The toe box is actually a little wider than the Las Sportivas, which I like, but I definitely don't want to be slipping. So I'm going to switch over my lacing and see how I do for the rest of the hike, but they are so comfortable. Heel lock lacing, if you're not familiar with it, is where you take the shoelace and you loop it in parallel through two different loops side by side, and then do the same thing here, and then cross the laces over, and as you pull it tight, it just kind of locks down the top of the shoe so that your heel doesn't slip at all. I just finished my little hike. Although it was absolutely beautiful, there's not a lot of terrain change, not a lot of elevation change going up and down. It's a little bit of a climb down to be alongside the river, but then it's pretty flat as you're walking by the river, and then of course the climb back up. So I think for my next hike I am going to seek out a trail that's got
both more distance and more elevation change, and probably put my pack on with a little bit of weight in it and see how I do. So anyway, it was a good hike. It felt great just to be out. And as far as the shoes, it was a good length to test the shoes, and the heel lock lacing did work really, really well. No slipping at all, so that is a positive.